The penthouse office on the 42nd floor of the Dominion Tower had floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the glittering cityscape, but Dominic Valeni wasn't looking at the view. He was staring at his laptop screen, reading the same sentence over and over again until the words burned into his retinas. Valeni Company has become soulless. The haircuts are technically perfect, but there's no heart. It feels like getting clipped by a robot programmed to upsell you overpriced snake oil. 1 star. Dominic leaned back in his Italian leather chair and rubbed his temples. 27 years. 27 years since he'd opened his first salon in a strip mall with borrowed clippers and a dream. Back then, every haircut had been personal. He'd known his clients' names, their kids' names, their fears and dreams. Now he owned 143 locations across 6 countries, employed over 2,000 people, and according to the internet, he'd lost his soul somewhere along the way. His phone buzzed. Another notification. Another review. The manager treated me like garbage because I didn't want the $300 keratin treatment. Never coming back. Dominic set the phone face down on his mahogany desk and walked to the private bathroom attached to his office. The man in the mirror looked successful. Silver hair perfectly styled, Tom Ford suit tailored to perfection, Rolex gleaming on his wrist. But his eyes looked tired. Old. He thought of his father, Giuseppe, who'd cut hair in a basement barbershop in Brooklyn for 40 years. Giuseppe never made more than $30,000 a year, but every customer left his chair feeling like royalty. Domenico, his father used to say in his thick Italian accent, when you cut someone's hair, you're not just changing how they look. You're changing how they feel. That's sacred, capice? Dominic understood. Or at least, he used to. He pulled out his phone and called his head of operations. Marcus, I need you to pull the data on our flagship location on Lexington Avenue. The one with the champagne bar? That's the one. What are the numbers? Revenue's up 18% year over year. Product sales are through the roof. What? What about the reviews? A pause. The reviews are mixed. Mixed means bad, Marcus. Sir, we can't please everyone. The location is profitable. That's what matters. Dominic hung up without responding. That's what matters. When had profit become the only metric of success? When had he stopped measuring success by the smiles on people's faces? He made a decision right there, standing in his bathroom with its heated marble floors and rain shower that cost more than his father's annual salary. He was going undercover. He needed to see what was really happening in his salons, not the sanitized version his regional managers presented in quarterly reports. Dominic walked to his closet and pulled out a suit he'd bought at a thrift store years ago for a costume party. Cheap polyester, slightly too short in the sleeves, the kind of suit a man wears when he's trying to look respectable but can't quite afford it. He laid it on his bed next to a pair of scuffed shoes he'd never thrown away. Then he called his makeup artist friend, Vivian, who'd done special effects for Broadway shows. Viv, I need a favor. Can you make me look like I'm 70 and broke? Honey, that's the easiest thing I've done all week. The subway smelled like urine and regret, and Dominic loved it. He couldn't remember the last time he'd taken public transportation. His driver, James, usually whisked him everywhere in the back of a Mercedes S-Class, insulated from the reality of the city by tinted windows and climate control. But Sal, the character he was playing, didn't have a driver. Sal was a retired sanitation worker with a pension that barely covered rent in Queens. Sal took the subway. Sal ate $8 pizza. Sal got his hair cut maybe twice a year, and only when it started getting in his eyes. Dominic studied his reflection in the subway window. Vivian had done an incredible job. The prosthetic jowls looked real, saggy, and age-spotted. The wig was a masterpiece, thin gray hair with a receding hairline and dandruff on the shoulders. She'd given him brown contact lenses to hide his distinctive green eyes and applied makeup that made him look exhausted, with deep bags under his eyes and broken capillaries on his nose. He'd practiced the walk, shuffling, slightly bent, the gait of a man whose back had given out years ago from lifting garbage cans. He'd practiced the voice too, raspier, with a heavy Brooklyn accent he'd lost decades ago when he started doing hair for celebrities who wrinkled their noses at working-class speech patterns. The subway screeched to a halt at Lexington Avenue. Dominic shuffled out with the morning crowd, taking his time, letting people flow around him like water around a stone. The flagship Valeni Company Salon occupied the ground floor of a luxury building between a Tiffany's and a restaurant, that charged $45 for a salad. The exterior was all glass and chrome, with the Valeni Company logo, a sleek V with scissors forming the crossbar, glowing in backlit gold letters. Through the window, Dominic could see the interior. White marble floors, modern art on the walls, recessed lighting that made everyone look like they were in a professional photo shoot. A champagne bar occupied one corner. The styling chairs were Italian leather, each one costing more than most people's monthly rent. He took a deep breath and pushed through the door. A wave of cool, perfumed air hit him. The salon smelled like expensive hair products, fresh flowers, and money. Electronic music with a deep bass thrummed at a volume that was just slightly too loud, creating an atmosphere of trendy urgency. The receptionist looked up from her computer. She was young, maybe 22, with expertly highlighted hair and makeup that looked airbrushed. Her name tag read Chloe. Her smile was bright and professional as she started her greeting. "Welcome to Valeni," and the smile faltered as she took in Sal's appearance. Her eyes flickered from his worn suit to his scuffed shoes to the dandruff on his shoulders. The warm welcome cooled by several degrees. "Hi," Dominic said in Sal's raspy voice. "I got an appointment. 10 o'clock. Name's Sal Benedetto." Chloe tapped at her keyboard, her long acrylic nails clicking like tiny hammers. "Yes, I see you here. You're scheduled with Leo. Can I offer you some champagne while you wait?" "Nah, I don't drink that stuff. You got water?" "Of course." Her tone suggested that asking for water instead of champagne was vaguely offensive. "Please have a seat." Dominic started toward the plush waiting area near the window, but before he could sit down, a woman's voice cut through the ambient music. "Chloe, what are you doing?" The woman who approached was in her early 30s, dressed in a black power suit that screamed designer. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her makeup was applied with mathematical precision. She wore more Gucci than warmth. The belt, the bag, the shoes all screamed luxury brand. Her name tag identified her as Sasha Sterling, manager. "I was just seating Mr. Benedetto, Sasha," Chloe said, her voice suddenly nervous. Sasha's eyes swept over Dominic with the efficiency of a security scanner. He could practically see her making calculations. The value of his suit, maybe $80 new, probably bought used. His shoes, Payless, 10 years old. His watch, a Timex that had stopped working in 1998. Her expression suggested she'd found him wanting. "Mr. Benedetto," Sasha said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Welcome to Valeni and Company. I'm Sasha, the manager. I just want to make sure you're in the right place. We're a premium salon. Our basic haircut starts at $150. The implication was clear. "Are you sure you can afford this?" Dominic felt anger flicker in his chest, but he kept Sal's expression neutral, maybe a little embarrassed. "Yeah, I know. It's my birthday next week. My daughter, she gave me a gift card. Said I should treat myself for once." It was a lie, but a useful one. It explained why someone like Sal would be in a place like this. Sasha's smile tightened. "How lovely. Well, let me show you to your seat." She gestured not toward the main salon area with its prime seating near the windows, but toward a corner in the back, partially hidden behind a large decorative plant. "We'll put you here," Sasha said brightly. "It's quieter, more comfortable for our more mature clients." Segregated, Dominic thought. She's segregating the clients who don't look like they belong. He shuffled to the seat and lowered himself into it, playing up the stiffness in his joints. Through the mirror, he could see the rest of the salon. Young professionals getting expensive balayage treatments. A woman in what looked like a Chanel suit getting a blowout. Everyone looked polished, successful, exactly the kind of client a high-end salon wanted. And then there was Sal, hidden behind a plant like something shameful. Chloe brought him a glass of water in a cheap plastic cup, not the crystal glasses the other clients received. The small indignity stung more than Dominic expected. He waited, and waited. 10 o'clock came and went. 10:15, 10:20. Sasha passed by his chair multiple times, and each time her expression grew more irritated. "I'm so sorry about the wait, Mr. Benedetto," she said, her tone suggesting she wasn't sorry at all. "Your stylist is running late." Very unprofessional. "It's okay," Dominic said. "I got nowhere to be." "Well, we have standards here," Sasha said crisply. She pulled out her phone and typed something with aggressive thumb movements. "Leo is always doing this. Always late. Always making excuses. Honestly, I don't know why we keep him on staff. At 10:25, Sasha's patience apparently ran out. She stood in the middle of the salon, hands on her hips, and announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. Leo is officially 25 minutes late. This is unacceptable. I'm going to have to take disciplinary action. The other stylists exchanged glances, but said nothing. Chloe at the front desk looked down at her computer screen, clearly uncomfortable. Dominic studied Sasha through the mirror. She was enjoying this. The public declaration of Leo's failure, the implicit promise of punishment. She was performing authority for an audience. At exactly 10:28, the front door burst open. Leo stumbled through the door like a man who'd been running. He was young, mid-20s, with curly dark hair that desperately needed a cut and warm brown eyes that looked exhausted. He wore the salon's uniform, black pants, black button-up shirt, but his was rumpled, and there was a stain on the sleeve that looked like it might be coffee. Or blood. He was breathing hard, clutching a worn leather bag that Dominic recognized as a professional clipper case. Sweat beaded on his forehead. "I'm sorry," Leo gasped. "I'm so sorry. I got here as fast as I could." Sasha descended on him like a bird of prey. 28 minutes, Leo. You kept the client waiting for 28 minutes. Her voice was sharp enough to cut glass. Every head in the salon turned to watch the spectacle. "I know, and I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't cut it anymore. This is the third time this month you've been late." Sasha crossed her arms, her designer bag swinging from her forearm like a weapon. "Where were you? Let me guess, you overslept again? Or was it another one of your emergencies that conveniently can't be verified?" Leo's face flushed red. "It was an emergency. I can explain." "I don't want to hear it," Sasha cut him off. She turned to address the salon at large, making sure everyone could hear. "This is exactly the kind of unprofessionalism that reflects poorly on our brand. Valeni & Company is a premium establishment. We don't make excuses. We don't show up late. We don't." "Sasha, please." Leo's voice was quiet but desperate. "Can we talk about this in your office?" "Why? So you can spin another story? So you can make more promises you won't keep?" Sasha's eyes glittered with something that looked like satisfaction. "You know what your problem is, Leo? You don't respect this job. You don't respect our client's time. You don't respect." "That's enough." Everyone turned to look at Dominic. He hadn't meant to speak. Sal was supposed to stay quiet, observe, but watching this public humiliation had ignited something in him that couldn't be suppressed. Sasha blinked, clearly surprised that the old man in the corner had found his voice. "Excuse me. I said that's enough." Dominic kept his voice level but firm. "The boy said he's sorry. He's here now. How about we let him get to work instead of making a big scene?" Sasha's expression hardened. "Mr. Benedetto, I appreciate your patience, but this is an internal matter. We have standards." "Your standards involve yelling at employees in front of customers?" Dominic asked mildly. "Because where I come from, that's bad for business." A muscle twitched in Sasha's jaw. For a moment, Dominic thought she might order him to leave, but she was too image-conscious for that. Instead, she plastered on a bright, fake smile. "You're absolutely right. How unprofessional of me." She turned to Leo with a smile that could freeze nitrogen. "Leo, please take care of Mr. Benedetto. We'll discuss your tardiness later. In private." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Leo nodded, not meeting her eyes. "Yes, ma'am." Sasha stalked away, her heels clicking on the marble floor like gunshots. Leo approached Dominic's chair, his hands shaking slightly as he set down his clipper case. "Mr. Benedetto, I am so sorry about the wait. That was completely unprofessional of me. Please, let me make it up to you. Today's cut is on me, completely free." "You don't have to do that," Dominic said. "I insist." Leo's smile was genuine but tired, the smile of someone who'd been running on empty for too long. "It's the least I can do. Now, what are we thinking for today? Just a trim, or did you want to try something different?" As Leo draped the cape around Dominic's shoulders, Dominic studied the young man's face in the mirror. There were dark circles under his eyes, a small cut on his hand that looked recent, and something else, a heaviness that had nothing to do with being late. "Just clean it up," Dominic said. "Nothing fancy. You got it." Leo ran his fingers through Dominic's fake hair with a practiced, gentle touch. "Your hair's actually in pretty good shape for having not been cut in a while. Nice and thick. You're lucky." They fell into a comfortable silence as Leo worked. And Dominic noticed something. Despite the chaos of his arrival, Despite Sasha's public dressing down, despite the obvious exhaustion, Leo's hands were completely steady. Each snip of the scissors was precise, confident, purposeful. The kid was good, really good. So, Dominic ventured after a few minutes. You have far to travel this morning? Leo's hands paused for just a fraction of a second. Not too far. Just had some things to take care of before work. Girlfriend trouble? Dominic asked with Sal's raspy chuckle. No, sir. Nothing like that. Leo's smile was sad. Just family business. The way he said family made it sound like a burden. Dominic watched in the mirror as Sasha made her rounds through the salon, stopping at each station to inspect the stylist's work. When she passed by Leo's station, her expression soured. She didn't say anything, but she didn't have to. The contempt was written clearly on her face. At the station next to them, a young woman was getting a full color treatment. Her stylist, a blonde woman named Tiffany, according to her name tag, was working on her hair while simultaneously pushing products. You really should consider our deep conditioning mask, Tiffany was saying. It's $200, but it's literally life-changing. And our scalp serum, that's another $150, but trust me, it's worth every penny. The client looked uncomfortable. I don't know, that's a lot. Think of it as an investment in yourself, Tiffany pressed. You deserve to feel beautiful. Dominic felt sick. The hard sell, the guilt trip. This wasn't what he'd envisioned when he built this company. Must be tough, Dominic said to Leo, working in a place like this. All this pressure to sell stuff. Leo's reflection in the mirror looked carefully neutral. It's part of the job. You good at it? The selling? A pause. Not really. Why not? Leo met Dominic's eyes in the mirror. Because most people don't need half the stuff we're supposed to push. They just need a good haircut and someone who actually listens to what they want. Dominic felt something shift in his chest. This kid got it. He actually understood what this business was supposed to be about. That probably doesn't make you popular with management, Dominic observed. Leo's smile was wry. You could say that. Sasha appeared suddenly behind them, making them both jump. Leo, how's it going here? Great, Leo said. Just finishing up. Sasha's eyes swept over Dominic's half-cut hair with a critical expression. Then she turned to Leo. Don't forget to offer Mr. Benedetto our premium styling products. We have a wonderful pomade that would be perfect for his texture. Actually, Leo said carefully, I was thinking of recommending a simple leave-in conditioner. His scalp's a little dry, probably from the winter weather. He doesn't need anything heavy. Sasha's smile turned sharp. Leo, Mr. Benedetto is sitting in a premium salon. I'm sure he'd like to leave with premium products. The pomade is $65. That should be your minimum. I really think. I'm not asking what you think. I'm telling you what to sell. Sasha's voice dropped to a whisper, but it was loud enough for Dominic to hear. Your sales numbers are pathetic, Leo. Absolutely pathetic. While everyone else is hitting their targets, you're barely breaking even. If you want to keep this job, you need to start pushing product. Do you understand? Leo's jaw tightened. Yes, ma'am. Good. Sasha turned to Dominic with a dazzling smile. Mr. Benedetto, Leo's going to show you some wonderful products that will really make your hair shine. They're a bit of an investment, but you're worth it, aren't you? Dominic looked at her, really looked at her, and saw everything that was wrong with his company reflected in her perfectly made-up face. She didn't see him as a person. She saw him as a revenue stream. A number on a spreadsheet. Actually, Dominic said slowly, I think I'll just stick with the haircut. Sasha's smile didn't waver, but her eyes went cold. Of course, whatever you prefer. She turned to Leo. A word. Now. Leo set down his scissors and followed Sasha to the back of the salon, near the storage area. They were too far away for their words to carry, but Dominic could read the scene perfectly. Sasha gesturing angrily, Leo standing with his shoulders hunched, taking the verbal assault without fighting back. When Leo returned a few minutes later, his hands were shaking again. Everything okay? Dominic asked. Fine, Leo said, picking up his scissors. But his voice was hollow. They finished the haircut in silence. When Leo held up the mirror to show Dominic the back, Dominic had to admit, it was one of the best haircuts he'd had in years. Clean, precise, perfectly suited to the shape of his face. Leo had instinctively understood what would work, had made tiny adjustments without being asked, had treated this simple trim like it mattered. This is really good, kid, Dominic said honestly. Leo's smile was genuine for the first time since he'd arrived. Thank you, sir. That means a lot. As Leo removed the cape and brushed away the stray hairs, Dominic reached for his wallet. He pulled out a $50 bill, more than the haircut would have cost even without Leo's offer to comp it. I can't accept that, Leo protested. I told you it's free. The haircut's free, Dominic said. This is for your time. And because you're good at what you do. Leo's eyes went suspiciously bright. Thank you. Really. You have no idea how much I needed to hear that today. Dominic stood up slowly, playing Sal's stiff joints. As he shuffled toward the door, he heard Sasha's voice ring out across the salon. Leo? Front desk. Now. Dominic paused at the door and looked back. Leo was walking toward Sasha's office, his shoulders squared like a man walking to his execution. And on the reception desk, Dominic noticed Leo's phone. It must have fallen out of his pocket. The screen lit up with a new text message. Chloe glanced at it, and her expression changed from bored to stricken. Dominic needed to know what that message said. He shuffled back toward the desk. Excuse me, miss? I think the young man dropped his phone. Chloe looked up, tears in her eyes. I'll make sure he gets it. Everything all right? Dominic asked gently. Chloe glanced toward Sasha's office, then back at the phone. Mr. Benedetto, can I ask you something? Do you think someone can be a good person and bad at their job? Depends on the job, Dominic said. Why? Because Leo's the best person who works here. He's kind to everyone. He stays late to help the other stylists. He never complains. But Sasha, she lowered her voice. Sasha's going to fire him. I know she is. Why would she fire someone who's good at what he does? Because he doesn't care about the right things. Chloe gestured at the phone. You see that text? That's from a mother whose daughter is starting chemotherapy. Leo spent his morning at the children's hospital giving that little girl a free haircut because she was terrified of losing her hair. Dominic felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. He goes there every week, Chloe continued. On his own time. He doesn't charge anything. He just helps. But Sasha found out last month and went ballistic. She said he was wasting his talents on people who can't contribute to our bottom line. She forbid him from going back. But he went anyway, Dominic said quietly. He went anyway, Chloe confirmed. And now he's going to lose his job because he helped a scared 8-year-old girl feel beautiful on the worst day of her life. The door to Sasha's office opened. Leo emerged, his face pale. Sasha followed, her expression triumphant. She spotted Leo's phone on the desk and snatched it up before Leo could reach it. Her eyes scanned the screen, and a cruel smile spread across her face. Well, she said loudly, making sure everyone in the salon could hear. Mystery solved. Leo was late because he was at St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Again. Leo reached for his phone. Sasha, please. She held it away from him, reading the text message aloud in a mocking tone. Thank you, Leo. Mia stopped crying when she saw the glitter you put in her hair. You made her first day of chemo bearable. You're an angel. How sweet. She looked up at Leo with contempt. You were late for a paying client to play hairdresser for a charity case. The salon had gone completely silent. Every stylist, every client, was watching. She's 8 years old, Leo said, his voice cracking. She was terrified. And our client is a 65-year-old man who had to wait almost half an hour because you can't manage your time. Sasha tossed the phone back at Leo. I told you to stop this. I told you explicitly that Valeni and Company does not run a charity. We are a business. We have paying customers. We have obligations. I do it on my own time, Leo protested. I don't charge them to the salon. I use my own products. You represent this brand 24 hours a day, Sasha cut him off. When you show up late and exhausted because you were up early volunteering, that's my problem. When your sales numbers are in the toilet because you're too busy being a hero to actual paying customers, that's my problem. When you make me look bad to corporate because I can't control my own staff, that's my problem. I'm sorry, Leo whispered. You're always sorry. But sorry doesn't pay the bills, Leo. Sasha crossed her arms. I've been patient. I've been understanding. But enough is enough. Get your things. You're done. Sasha, please. You're fired, Leo. Effective immediately. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. And that's when Dominic Valeni stopped being Sal Benedetto. Dominic's hands, hidden under the cheap sleeves of Sal's polyester suit, were shaking, but not from age. They were shaking with a rage so pure, so white-hot, that it felt like his blood had turned to lava. He stood there, partially hidden behind the decorative plant, watching this woman, this cruel, small-minded woman, destroy a good man for the crime of compassion. And every word out of her mouth was like a knife cutting into everything Dominic had built, everything he believed his company stood for. Sasha had turned away from Leo to address the salon at large, clearly enjoying her moment of authority. Let this be a lesson to all of you. We have standards here. We have expectations. If you can't meet them, stop. The word came out of Dominic's mouth in a voice that wasn't Sal's anymore. It was deeper, harder, carrying the weight of 2 decades of building an empire. Sasha turned, irritation flickering across her face. Mr. Benedetto, this really doesn't concern. I said stop. Dominic walked out from behind the plant, his shuffle gone, his posture straightening inch by inch. You've said enough. Sir, I understand you're upset about waiting, but... Upset? Dominic laughed, and it was a harsh sound. No, Miss Sterling. I'm not upset about waiting. I'm upset about what I've just witnessed. Sasha's expression shifted from irritation to confusion. Something in Dominic's bearing had changed, something that made her instinctively take a step back. I'm sorry you had to see that, she said, her voice taking on a placating tone. Employee discipline is never pleasant, but sometimes it's necessary. I can offer you a complimentary product as an apology for the disruption. You don't know who I am, do you? Dominic asked quietly. Sasha blinked. You're Sal Benedetto. You had a 10 o'clock appointment. No. Dominic reached up and slowly, deliberately, pulled off the gray wig. The cheap toupee came away in his hand, revealing his actual silver hair, perfectly styled underneath. That's who you thought I was. The salon went dead silent. Dominic set the wig on the reception desk and began removing the prosthetic jowls, peeling away the age spots, wiping the makeup from his face with the black cape that was still around his shoulders. Each layer he removed revealed more of his true self, and he watched as recognition slowly dawned in Sasha's eyes. First confusion, then disbelief, then absolute, bone-deep horror. Oh my God, Chloe whispered from the reception desk. Sasha's face went through a fascinating journey of expressions, shock, denial, terror, before settling on a kind of frozen panic. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Mr. Valeni, she finally managed. This is unexpected. Dominic finished for her. He turned to address the entire salon. Every client, every stylist was staring at him with wide eyes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dominic Valeni. I own this company, and I've spent the last hour experiencing firsthand what it's like to be a customer in one of my own salons. He turned back to Sasha, who looked like she might faint. Would you like to know what I discovered, Miss Sterling? Sir, I can explain. I discovered that my flagship salon, the crown jewel of my company, segregates clients based on their appearance. He pointed to the corner where he'd been sitting. I was hidden behind a plant because I didn't look wealthy enough to sit in the main area. I was given water in a plastic cup while other clients received crystal glasses. I was treated with barely concealed contempt by you because my suit wasn't expensive enough to meet your standards. Sasha's face had gone from white to red. Mr. Valeni, we have to maintain a certain atmosphere. The clients who come here expect to be treated with respect? Dominic cut her off. Because that's what I expected too. That's what I built this company on. Respect. Dignity. The belief that everyone deserves to feel beautiful, regardless of how much money they have. He began walking through the salon, his voice carrying to every corner. I also discovered that my staff is being pressured to push expensive products on clients who don't need them. I watched one of your stylists try to guilt a customer into buying $400 worth of treatments she clearly couldn't afford. He pointed at Tiffany, who looked like she wanted to disappear. Is that what we do now? Exploit people's insecurities for commission? We're a premium brand, Sasha said, finding her voice again. We have sales targets. Sales targets. Dominic's laugh was bitter. Is that what you were thinking about when you publicly humiliated a young man for being 28 minutes late? Were you hitting your sales targets? Leo has chronic attendance issues. Leo was late because he was at a children's hospital giving a free haircut to a little girl starting chemotherapy. Dominic's voice cracked. He was late because he was doing exactly what this company was founded to do, using his skills to make someone feel beautiful during the darkest moment of their life. He turned to Leo, who was standing frozen, clutching his phone, tears streaming down his face. How long have you been doing this? Dominic asked him gently. The hospital visits? Leo wiped his eyes. 2 years, sir. Since my sister passed away. Your sister? She had leukemia? She was 12. Near the end, she wouldn't let anyone see her because she'd lost all her hair. She thought she was ugly. Leo's voice broke. I promised myself I'd never let another kid feel that way if I could help it. Dominic felt his throat tighten. He looked around the salon at the shocked faces, then back at Sasha. You tried to fire this man, he said slowly, for embodying everything this company should stand for. You called sick children charity cases. You valued product sales over human compassion. You created a culture where people are judged by their clothes instead of their character. Sir, if you'll just let me explain my management philosophy. I don't want to hear it. Dominic's voice was steel. Because your management philosophy has nothing to do with hair. It has nothing to do with making people feel beautiful. It has everything to do with your own ego and your own greed. Sasha's face hardened. I've increased revenue at this location by 18%. I've improved product sales by 22%. My numbers are the best in the district. You can't fire me for doing my job well. You're right, Dominic said. I can't fire you for hitting your numbers. But I can fire you for being cruel. I can fire you for discriminating against clients. I can fire you for creating a toxic work environment. I can fire you for attempting to terminate an employee who was doing exactly what I would want any of my employees to do. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Marcus? It's Dom. I need you to send security to the Lexington Avenue location. We're removing a manager. He paused. No, I'm serious. I'm here now. Get someone here in the next 10 minutes. He hung up and looked at Sasha. You have 10 minutes to clear out your desk. Security will escort you out. You can't do this, Sasha said, but her voice wavered. I have a contract, which includes a clause about maintaining company values and treating staff with respect. You violated both. You're done. Sasha's composure finally cracked. Do you have any idea what I've sacrificed for this place? The hours I've worked? The numbers I've delivered? I made this salon the most profitable location in the entire company. At what cost? Dominic asked quietly. You made it profitable by making it soulless. By turning it into exactly the kind of place I never wanted it to be. By treating people like transactions instead of human beings. He looked around the salon. Several of the stylists were crying. The clients looked uncomfortable, some sympathetic, others clearly just wanting to leave. I started this company 27 years ago, Dominic said, his voice carrying emotion now. I started it because I grew up poor. My father cut hair in a basement in Brooklyn for 40 years, and he never made much money, but every single person who sat in his chair left feeling like they mattered. That was the business I wanted to build. Not this. He gestured around the marble and chrome and champagne bar. Not a place where we judge people by their shoes. He walked over to Leo, who was still standing there, looking shell-shocked. You're not fired, son, Dominic said. In fact, I want to talk to you about a promotion. A promotion? Leo could barely get the word out. Someone needs to run this location. Someone who actually understands what we're supposed to be about. Dominic turned back to Sasha. Your replacement is standing right here. Sasha's mouth fell open. You're going to replace me with him? He's terrible at sales. He gives away free haircuts. He'll run this place into the ground. Maybe, Dominic said. Or maybe he'll turn it into the kind of place people actually want to come to. The kind of place they write good reviews about. The kind of place that has a soul. 2 security guards entered the salon, looking confused. Gentlemen, Dominic said, please escort Ms. Sterling to her office so she can collect her personal belongings, then see her out of the building. Her access cards and keys are to be deactivated immediately. As Sasha was led away, still protesting, still insisting on her numbers, her contracts, her rights, Dominic turned to address the salon. I owe all of you an apology, he said. I've been so focused on growth and expansion and profit margins that I lost sight of why I started this company in the first place. I let people like Sasha run my salons because they hit their targets, without ever asking what they were doing to hit them. He paused. That ends today. From now on, I want to know what kind of culture we're creating, not just what kind of revenue we're generating. He looked at each stylist in turn. If any of you have been feeling pressured to sell products clients don't need, that stops now. If you've been told to prioritize rich clients over poor ones, that stops now. If you've been afraid to show compassion because it might hurt your numbers, that stops now. Chloe raised her hand tentatively from the reception desk. Mr. Valenti? What about our sales quotas? We'll talk about adjusting them to be more realistic. And we'll add new metrics, client satisfaction scores, repeat customer rates, community involvement. Things that actually matter. One of the stylists, a woman in her 40s named Maria, spoke up. What about the hospital program? The free haircuts for kids? Dominic smiled. What hospital program? The one we're about to start. Company-wide. Paid hours for any employee who wants to volunteer at local hospitals, shelters, or community centers. We'll provide the products and equipment. We'll make it official. The salon erupted in applause. An hour later, after the security guards had left with Sasha, after the shocked clients had been offered free services and sincere apologies, after the staff had been given the rest of the day off to process what had happened, Dominic sat back down in Leo's chair. Finish the cut, he said. Leo looked at him with red-rimmed eyes. Sir, I can't. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything. Just cut my hair. Properly this time. Without all this theatrical aging makeup in the way. Leo nodded and picked up his scissors with shaking hands. As Leo worked, carefully shaping Dominic's actual silver hair, Dominic closed his eyes and let himself feel every snip, every gentle touch of the comb, every adjustment. This was what it was supposed to feel like. This connection between stylist and client. This quiet intimacy of trust. Tell me about your sister, Dominic said softly. Leo's hands paused. Her name was Sophie. She was the funniest kid you'd ever meet. Always making up songs, always laughing. His voice grew thick. When she got sick, she changed. She wouldn't leave her room. She wore hats all the time, even to bed. She said she looked like a monster. What did you do? I shaved my own head, Leo said. Told her we could be bald together. For a while it helped. But toward the end, he had to stop, compose himself. Toward the end, nothing helped. I was 17. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't fix it. Dominic opened his eyes and met Leo's gaze in the mirror. So now you help other kids. I try. I can't save them. I'm not a doctor. But I can make them feel normal for a little while. I can make them feel like they're still themselves, even when everything else is changing. That's not a small thing, Leo. It felt small when Sasha was yelling at me for it. Dominic sighed. How long has she been making your life miserable? Since I started here 2 years ago. At first, I thought I was just bad at the job. My sales numbers were always low. I kept getting written up for spending too much time with clients, for not pushing the expensive treatments. She told me I'd never make it as a stylist if I couldn't learn to leverage client vulnerability. Leo made air quotes with his scissors. Those were her actual words. Did you ever think about quitting? Every day. Leo resumed cutting, his movements precise and sure. But I needed the job. I've got student loans from beauty school, rent in the city, and I send money to my mom upstate. She's got a mess. Can't work anymore. Leaving wasn't an option, no matter how bad it got. Dominic felt a deep shame settle in his chest. This young man had been suffering in a salon that bore Dominic's name, embodying Dominic's values, and Dominic hadn't known, hadn't even suspected. I'm sorry, Dominic said. I'm sorry I didn't know. I'm sorry I wasn't paying attention. You run a huge company, sir. You can't be everywhere. That's not an excuse. I should have systems in place to catch this kind of thing. I should have been listening to what my employees were experiencing, not just reading profit reports. They fell into silence as Leo continued working. Dominic watched his reflection transform under Leo's skilled hands. The haircut was impeccable, even better than Dominic had thought. Leo had an instinct for shape, for balance, for understanding what would work for each individual client. You're really good at this, Dominic said. Leo smiled, a real smile this time. Thank you. I love it. Even on the worst days, even when Sasha was on my case, I loved being behind the chair. There's something magical about it, you know? People come in stressed, tired, feeling ugly. And you get to make them feel beautiful, even if it's just for an hour. My father used to say something similar, Dominic said. He said a good barber is part artist, part therapist, part priest. People tell you things in the chair they wouldn't tell anyone else. That's true, Leo agreed. I've heard about affairs, divorces, job losses, cancer diagnoses. People are vulnerable when they're getting their hair cut. You're touching their head. They're seeing themselves in the mirror. All their insecurities come out. And what do you do with that vulnerability? Try to honor it, Leo said simply. Try to make them feel seen. Like they matter. Dominic felt his throat tighten again. That's exactly right. That's exactly what this business should be. Leo put down his scissors and picked up the blow-dryer. As he worked, Dominic asked the question that had been nagging at him. When Sasha read that text message out loud, when she was humiliating you in front of everyone, why didn't you fight back? Why didn't you defend yourself? Leo was quiet for a moment, the blow-dryer humming. Then he turned it off. Because she was right, he said quietly. Dominic frowned. What do you mean? I was late. I did make a client wait. Mr. Benedetto, I mean, you sat there for almost half an hour because I was at the hospital. From a business perspective, Sasha was right to be angry. From a human perspective, you were doing something important. But it's not my business to decide that during work hours, is it? Leo met Dominic's eyes in the mirror. I knew what I was doing would make me late. I knew it might cost me my job. I chose to do it anyway because I thought it was the right thing, but that doesn't mean there shouldn't be consequences. You're wrong, Dominic said firmly. You're absolutely wrong. Being late for a haircut is not a sin. Being cruel to sick children is. Sasha had it backward, and I won't let you doubt yourself because she convinced you her priorities were right. Leo's eyes filled with tears again. I've been doubting myself for 2 years. Every time she yelled at me, every time she said I was wasting time or being unprofessional, part of me believed her. I thought maybe I was just bad at this. You're not bad at this. You're the best stylist I've seen in years. Dominic turned in the chair to look at Leo directly, not through the mirror. And starting tomorrow, I want you to run this location. Sir, I can't. Why not? I don't know how to manage people. I've never supervised anyone. I don't know about budgets or inventory or... You'll learn, Dominic cut him off. And I'll help you. I'll assign you a mentor. We'll get you training. But Leo, I don't need another manager who can hit sales targets. I need someone who understands what this company is supposed to be. I need someone who'll create a culture where people want to work, where clients want to come, where compassion is valued as much as profit. What if I fail? Then you fail. And we'll figure it out together. Dominic smiled. But I don't think you will. I think you're going to show me what this company can be when it's run by someone who actually gives a damn about people. Leo wiped his eyes. Can I ask you something, Mr. Valeni? Call me Dom. And yes. Why did you go undercover? Why not just visit as yourself? Dominic leaned back in the chair, looking at his reflection in the mirror, his real reflection now, without the disguise. Because I was reading reviews that said my salons had no soul, and I was afraid they were right. I wanted to see what people really experienced when they walked through that door, not the sanitized version people show the boss. And what did you find? I found that I've been succeeding at the wrong things, Dominic said. I've been so focused on expansion and profit that I forgot why I started this business in the first place. I watched my father cut hair for 40 years and never make more than $30,000 a year, and I promised myself I'd do better. I'd make more money. I'd be more successful. He shook his head. But somewhere along the way, I forgot that my father was successful. He might not have been rich, but every single person who sat in his chair left feeling like they mattered. That's success. That's what I lost sight of. You can get it back, Leo said. I can try. With help from people like you. Leo picked up a small hand mirror and showed Dominic the back of his head. The cut was perfect. Clean lines, perfect blending. Exactly what Dominic would have wanted if he'd spent an hour explaining it. It's perfect, Dominic said. Thank you. Thank you, sir. For everything. For defending me. For believing in me. Leo's voice cracked. For caring about the kids at the hospital. You have no idea what it means to me that someone finally gets it. Dominic stood up and pulled out his wallet. He took out $500 bills and handed them to Leo. Sir, I can't. It's not a tip. It's back pay for every free haircut you've given over the past 2 years. For every time you used your own products. For every hour you spent making sick kids feel beautiful on your own time and your own dime. Leo stared at the money. This is too much. It's not nearly enough. But it's a start. Dominic put a hand on Leo's shoulder. Tomorrow, we're going to sit down and figure out how to formalize the hospital program. I want every location to have stylists who volunteer. I want it to be official, supported, celebrated. Not something people have to hide. That would be amazing. It's the least I can do. After 27 years, it's time I started living up to my father's legacy instead of just capitalizing on it. As Dominic prepared to leave the salon, Leo cleaning up his station behind him, Dominic's mind wandered back to the moment earlier, before his reveal, when Sasha had tried to force Leo to upsell. He remembered sitting in the chair, watching in the mirror as Sasha approached with that predatory smile. "Leo," she'd said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness, "I noticed you haven't discussed product options with Mr. Benedetto yet." Leo had tensed. "I was planning to recommend a simple leave-in conditioner. His scalp is dry from the winter weather." "A leave-in conditioner," Sasha had repeated, her tone making it clear what she thought of that suggestion. "How much does that cost?" "About $15. $15. Sasha had turned to Dominic with an apologetic smile. "Mr. Benedetto, I'm sure Leo is right about your needs, but we have so many more luxurious options. Our premium scalp treatment, for example, is infused with argan oil and keratin. It's $200, but it's truly transformative." Dominic had looked at her blankly. "What's it do?" "It rejuvenates the scalp, promotes hair growth, reduces inflammation, balances pH levels." "Will it fix my dry scalp?" A flicker of irritation had crossed her face. "Well, yes, but it does so much more." "I just need something for dry scalp," Dominic had said in Sal's voice. "That fancy stuff sounds like a waste of money." Sasha's smile had hardened. "Sir, when you're investing in a premium haircut at Valeni & Company, you want to maintain the results with premium products. Think of it as protecting your investment." "My investment is a haircut, not a car." "Exactly." Sasha had pounced on that. "Your hair is with you every day. You see it every time you look in a mirror. Don't you deserve the best?" It had been a masterclass in manipulation. The implicit suggestion that not buying the expensive product meant you didn't value yourself. The guilt trip wrapped in compliments. The pressure disguised as care. Leo had intervened. "Sasha, honestly, the treatment you're suggesting isn't right for his hair type. It's too heavy. It'll make his scalp worse, not better." Sasha had turned on him with barely concealed fury. "Leo, are you contradicting me in front of a client? I'm trying to give him good advice. Your job is to sell product, not play doctor. My job is to take care of the client. Your job," Sasha had hissed, "is whatever I tell you it is. Now recommend the scalp treatment, or we're going to have a very serious conversation in my office." Dominic had watched this exchange with growing horror. This was what his employees dealt with. This pressure to push unnecessary products, with threats as the motivator? "I think I'll stick with what the barber recommends," Dominic had said firmly. "He's the expert." Sasha's expression had gone cold. "Of course, sir. Leo, perhaps you could at least mention our styling pomade. It's only $65 and would be perfect for Mr. Benedetto's texture." Leo had looked at Dominic's fake, thin, dry hair. Actually, pomade would be too heavy for Leo. Just his name said like a threat. "The pomade is $65, Leo had said mechanically, like a hostage reading a script. "It provides medium hold with a natural finish." "I'm good. Thanks," Dominic had said. Sasha had given them both a look that could have curdled milk, then stalked away. Now, standing in the empty salon with Leo, Dominic shook his head at the memory. "How many times did she do that to you?" he asked. "Every day," Leo said quietly. "Multiple times a day. She'd hover around my station during cuts and count how many products I mentioned. If I didn't hit her minimum, she'd pull me aside and threaten to write me up." "Did she write you up?" 17 times in 2 years. Dominic felt sick. "For what?" "Failure to meet sales targets. Unauthorized discounting. That was when I'd comp a cut for someone who couldn't afford it. Unprofessional behavior. That covered everything from being late to talking too long with clients to refusing to push products I knew were wrong for them." "Did you ever report her?" Leo laughed bitterly. "To who? Corporate HR? The same corporate HR that sends out monthly emails about how our bonuses are tied to product sales? The same corporate HR that celebrates Sasha as a top performer." Dominic winced. "You're right. The system was broken at every level." "Is broken," Leo corrected. "One manager getting fired doesn't fix everything." "I know. That's why I'm changing the whole system." Dominic pulled out his phone. "Starting now." He dialed Marcus again. "Marcus, I need you to pull the files on every manager in the company. I want to see sales numbers, employee turnover rates, and client satisfaction scores for every location." "That's going to take some time, sir. You have 48 hours. And Marcus? I want to know which managers are hitting their numbers by creating toxic environments. I want to know which ones have high turnover. I want to know which ones are getting customer complaints. We've never tracked that kind of data together before." "Then we start now." Because I'm about to clean house, and I need to know which houses need cleaning. He hung up and looked at Leo. This is going to get messy. I'm probably going to discover things I don't want to know. I'm probably going to have to fire a lot of people. Good, Leo said firmly. Because there are a lot of Sashas out there. And a lot of stylists like me who are just trying to survive. Not anymore. From now on, we protect the stylists who care. And we get rid of the managers who don't. The moment that had changed everything. The moment Dominic had stopped being Sal and started being himself again, played in his mind like a film reel. Sasha had been holding Leo's phone, reading the text message from Mia's mother with that cruel smile on her face. You made her first day of chemo bearable, she'd read mockingly. How touching. Tell me, Leo, did this little girl buy any product? Did she book a follow-up appointment? Did she contribute anything to our bottom line? Leo had looked like he'd been slapped. She's 8 years old with cancer. And that's very sad. But it's not our problem. Sasha had tossed the phone back at him. Our problem is running a profitable business. Our problem is meeting our obligations to shareholders and corporate. Our problem is employees who think they can play hero on company time. I did it on my own time, Leo had protested weakly. Your time is company time when you show up late and exhausted. Your time is company time when you use products that could have been sold to paying customers. Your time is company time when you represent this brand. That's when Dominic had spoken up, asking her to stop. And when she'd ignored him, when she'd kept talking about standards and expectations and professionalism, something inside him had snapped. He'd stood up from the chair, no longer shuffling, no longer playing the role of Sal, the retired sanitation worker. And in that moment, he'd made a choice, reveal himself or stay silent. If he stayed silent, he could continue his undercover investigation. He could gather more evidence, make a case, handle this through proper channels. But if he revealed himself, he could stop this right now. He could protect Leo. He could show every person in this salon what values actually mattered. The choice had been easy. As he'd peeled off the wig, as he'd watched Sasha's face transform from smug superiority to horrified recognition, Dominic had felt something he hadn't felt in years, certainty. Not the certainty of profit margins or expansion plans, but the certainty that he was doing the right thing for the right reasons. When Sasha had tried to justify herself, I've increased revenue by 18%, Dominic had realized the fundamental problem with his company. He'd created a system that rewarded people like Sasha. He'd built metrics that measured profit, but not humanity. He'd promoted managers based on their numbers without ever asking what they'd done to achieve those numbers. You know what your 18% represents? Dominic had asked her as security arrived. It represents every client who felt judged, every employee who felt bullied, every value I built this company on being sacrificed for short-term gain. Your 18% cost me my soul. Was it worth it? Sasha had looked at him with genuine confusion. I don't understand. I did everything the corporate handbook told me to do. I hit every target. I followed every guideline. And that had been the most damning statement of all. Because she was right. The corporate handbook did emphasize sales over service. The guidelines did prioritize profit over people. The targets did reward quantity over quality. Then the handbook is wrong, Dominic had said. And I'm the one who wrote it. So this is on me as much as it's on you. So you're firing me for following your rules. I'm firing you for following my rules without questioning whether they were right. I'm firing you for choosing cruelty over compassion. I'm firing you for forgetting that we're in the business of making people feel beautiful, not making them feel small. As security had escorted her out, Sasha had turned back one last time. You're making a mistake. Leo will run this place into the ground. He doesn't have what it takes. You're right, Dominic had agreed. He doesn't have what it takes to be like you. Thank God for that. After Sasha was gone, after the shock had worn off and the reality of what had happened began to sink in, Leo had broken down completely. Dominic had led him to Sasha's former office, now Leo's office, and closed the door. Leo had collapsed into the chair behind the desk and put his head in his hands. I can't do this, he'd said through tears. I can't run a salon. I can't manage people. I'm going to fail, and then you'll fire me, and I'll have lost my job anyway. You won't fail, Dominic had said, pulling up a chair across from him. You don't know that. You're right. I don't. But I believe it anyway. Leo had looked up with red, swollen eyes. Why? Why do you believe in me? Dominic had thought about that question carefully before answering. My father had a code. He called it the barber's code, though I think it applies to any profession where you're entrusted with people's vulnerability. Want to hear it? Leo had nodded. First rule: everyone who sits in your chair deserves your best work, regardless of whether they tip well or dress fancy or smell good. You give everyone the same quality cut because everyone deserves to feel beautiful. I can do that, Leo had said quietly. Second rule: listen more than you talk. People come to the barber shop to feel heard as much as to get a haircut. Sometimes the listening is more important than the cutting. Okay. Third rule: never upsell what someone doesn't need. Your reputation is worth more than any commission. If someone needs a simple trim, give them a simple trim. Don't try to talk them into treatments they can't afford. Leo had smiled through his tears. Sasha would have hated that rule. Sasha isn't here anymore. Fourth rule: remember that you're touching people at their most vulnerable. They're seeing themselves in the mirror, trusting you with their appearance, sharing their fears and insecurities. Honor that trust. Treat it as sacred. I try to. I know you do. That's why you're the right person for this job. Dominic had leaned forward. Fifth rule: success isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in the number of people who leave your chair feeling better than when they arrived. It's measured in the kids who smile even though they're sick. It's measured in the kindness you show when no one's watching. Leo had wiped his eyes. Your father sounds like he was a good man. He was. And he'd have loved you. They'd sat in silence for a moment. And then Leo had asked the question Dominic had been waiting for. What if I want to change things? What if I want to do things differently than Sasha did? Then change them. That's why you're here. What if my changes hurt the bottom line? Dominic had smiled. Then we'll figure it out together. Leo, I'm not installing you as manager and then abandoning you. I'm going to be involved. I'm going to mentor you. And I'm going to make sure you have the support and resources you need to build the kind of salon we both want to work in. Can I tell you my ideas? Leo had asked hesitantly. Please. I want to eliminate the sales quotas entirely. Or at least change them so they're based on client satisfaction instead of product sales. Done. What else? I want to train the staff on how to work with clients who have special needs. Cancer patients, people with disabilities, trans clients who are transitioning. I want this to be a safe space for everyone. Excellent idea. Keep going. I want to institute a sliding scale for people who can't afford our regular prices. Not as charity, but as official policy. If someone's struggling financially, they should still be able to get a good haircut. Dominic had felt his throat tighten. My father did that. He never turned anyone away because they couldn't pay. Sometimes people paid him in food, or by fixing things around the shop, or just with a thank you. He said a man's dignity was worth more than any haircut fee. Did he make any money? Not much. We were poor my whole childhood. But I never once heard him complain about it. He loved what he did. Do you? Leo had asked suddenly. Love what you do. Dominic had paused, really considering the question. I used to. Somewhere along the way, I started loving the success more than the work. I started measuring my worth by the size of my company instead of the quality of the haircuts. I forgot that I started this business because I wanted to make people feel beautiful, not because I wanted to make money. It's not too late to remember, Leo had said. I know. That's why I'm here. They'd talked for another hour, sketching out plans for the new salon culture. Leo had idea after idea, a mentorship program for young stylists, partnerships with local charities, monthly training on inclusive practices, a complete overhaul of the product line to include more affordable options. And Dominic had said yes to all of it. You realize this is going to piss off corporate, Leo had warned. The board is going to lose their minds when they see the changes. Let them. I still own 51% of the company. They can complain all they want, but I have final say. They'll argue you're tanking the business for some feel-good nonsense. Then I'll argue back that I'm saving the business from becoming something I'm ashamed of. Leo had smiled. A real, genuine smile. I think your father would be proud of you, Mr. Valeni. Dom. Dominic had corrected. Call me Dom. And I hope you're right. The actual moment of the reveal had been something Dominic would remember for the rest of his life. He'd stood up from the chair, his shuffle gone, his voice changing from Sal's rasp to his natural tone. And he'd said simply, stop. The single word had cut through Sasha's tirade like a knife. When she turned to him, ready to dismiss another complaint from a difficult customer, her expression had been one of irritation. But as Dominic straightened, as his posture changed from elderly and defeated to commanding and strong, something had shifted in her eyes. Confusion first. Then the beginning of recognition. Dominic had reached up slowly, deliberately, making eye contact with Sasha the whole time. He'd gripped the edge of the gray wig and pulled it off in one smooth motion. The salon had collectively gasped. His silver hair, his real hair, perfectly cut and styled, had been revealed. Without the wig's bulk, his face looked different. Younger, more angular. Sasha's eyes had widened. Then Dominic had begun peeling off the prosthetic jowls, the age spots, the makeup that had added 20 years to his face. Each layer removed revealed more of who he really was. And with each layer, Sasha's face had grown paler. "Oh my God," Chloe had whispered from the reception desk. That's Dominic Valeni." One of the clients, a woman in her 50s getting highlights, had pulled out her phone. "It is. I saw him in Forbes last month." Dominic had removed the brown contact lenses, revealing his distinctive green eyes. He'd wiped away the last of the makeup with the black cape, cleaning his face with methodical precision. And then he'd stood there, Dominic Valeni, CEO and founder of Valeni Company, in a cheap polyester suit, in his own salon, surrounded by shocked faces. Sasha had found her voice first. "Mr. Valeni, I didn't. This isn't what you expected." Dominic had finished for her. "I imagine not. I can explain. I don't want explanations. I want you to listen." Dominic had turned to address the entire salon. "My name is Dominic Valeni. I own this company. And for the past hour, I've been experiencing what it's like to be a customer here." He'd pointed to the corner where he'd been hidden. "I was put in the back because my suit wasn't expensive enough. I was given water in a plastic cup while other clients got crystal. I was treated with barely concealed contempt because I didn't look like I belonged in a premium establishment." He'd turned to Sasha. "Is that what we are now? A place that judges people by their clothes? Mr. Valeni, we have to maintain a certain atmosphere. An atmosphere of exclusion? An atmosphere of discrimination? Is that what we're maintaining?" "I was just trying to protect the brand." "You were trying to protect your own narrow idea of what our clients should look like," Dominic had corrected. "And in doing so, you violated every principle this company was founded on." He'd turned to the stylists. "How many of you have been pressured to sell products you knew clients didn't need?" Slowly, hesitantly, hands had gone up. "For out of 6 stylists, how many of you have been threatened or written up for not meeting sales quotas?" More hands. All 6 stylists this time. "How many of you have wanted to do something kind for a client, but didn't because you were afraid of being punished?" Every hand in the salon had gone up. Even Chloe at the reception desk. Dominic had felt his anger solidify into resolve. Then things are going to change. Starting now. Starting here. Sasha had tried one more time. "Sir, with all due respect, I've been following company policy. The sales quotas, the product requirements, the customer experience guidelines, they're all in the corporate handbook." "I know. I wrote that handbook." Dominic had looked her in the eye. "And I was wrong." The simplicity of the admission had seemed to shock everyone more than the reveal itself. "You were wrong," Sasha had repeated. "I was wrong to prioritize profit over people. I was wrong to create metrics that reward quantity over quality. I was wrong to build a system that allows someone like you to thrive while someone like Leo struggles." He'd walked over to Leo, who was still standing frozen, and put a hand on his shoulder. This man was late because he was giving a free haircut to a child with cancer. You tried to fire him for that. You called a sick child a charity case. You valued product sales over human compassion. I was protecting company resources. You were being cruel. There's a difference. Security had arrived then, 2 confused-looking men in suits who clearly hadn't expected to be called to one of their own locations. "Gentlemen," Dominic had said, "please escort Ms. Sterling to her office to collect her personal belongings. Then see her out. Her employment is terminated effective immediately." As they'd approached, Sasha had pulled out her phone. "I'm calling corporate. You can't do this. I have a contract, which includes clauses about maintaining company values and treating staff with respect. You violated both. Your contract is void." "This is unfair. I've done everything right. My numbers." "Your numbers," Dominic had said coldly, "are the numbers of a bully. They're the numbers of someone who confused cruelty with competence. They're the numbers I don't want anymore." As security had led her away, still protesting, still unable to comprehend what was happening, the salon had remained silent. Then, slowly, someone had started clapping. It was Maria, the stylist in her 40s. She was crying as she clapped. Then Chloe joined in. Then the other stylists. Then the clients. The applause had grown until it filled the salon, and Dominic had felt tears in his own eyes. Not tears of triumph, but tears of relief. Relief that he'd stopped pretending everything was fine. Relief that he'd finally stood up for what he believed in. Relief that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to fix what he'd broken. The aftermath had been swift and thorough. Dominic had gathered all the staff, stylists, reception, even the cleaning crew, and addressed them directly. I owe all of you an apology, he'd begun. I built a system that rewarded the wrong things and punished the right ones. I created an environment where someone like Sasha could thrive while someone like Leo suffered. That's on me. He'd paused, looking at each face. From today forward, things are going to be different. We're going to rewrite the corporate handbook. We're going to change the metrics we use to measure success. We're going to prioritize client satisfaction and employee well-being over pure profit. One of the stylists, a young man named James, had raised his hand. What about our bonuses? They're currently tied to product sales. We'll restructure them. Bonuses will be based on a combination of factors: client satisfaction scores, repeat customer rates, community involvement, and yes, some level of sales. But the sales component will be much smaller, and it will be measured over time, not week to week. What if we can't afford that? Another stylist had asked. What if the changes hurt the business? Then we'll adjust. But I'd rather run a smaller, healthier business than a large, toxic one. Chloe had spoken up from the reception desk. Mr. Valeni, what about the clients who can't afford our prices? Are we really going to have a sliding scale? Yes. Starting next month, every location will have community hours, times when we offer reduced price cuts for people who are struggling financially. Stylists who work those hours will be paid their full rate by the company. No one's income will suffer because we're helping people. Maria had wiped her eyes. This is everything I wish this place could be when I started here 5 years ago. Why didn't you say something? Dominic had asked gently. I tried. I went to corporate HR twice to complain about the sales pressure and the way Sasha treated people. Both times I was told that Sasha was a top performer and I needed to adjust my attitude. Dominic had closed his eyes, pain written on his face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that happened to you. It's not your fault. It is my fault. I created a system where HR protects high performers instead of protecting employees. That changes too. I'm bringing in an outside firm to audit our HR practices and recommend changes. He'd spent the next hour answering questions, addressing concerns, and listening to stories. Stories of other managers like Sasha. Stories of clients who'd been made to feel small. Stories of stylists who'd quit because they couldn't take the pressure anymore. Each story had been a knife in Dominic's heart. But he'd listened to all of them, taking notes, promising action. Finally, he'd turned to Leo. You ready to take over? Leo had looked terrified. Can I have a few days to prepare? Take a week. I'll run the location myself until you're ready. The shock on everyone's faces had been comical. You're going to work here? James had asked. Like, actually cutting hair? That's the plan. I need to remember what this business is actually about. And I can't think of a better way than getting back behind the chair. That evening, Dominic had taken Leo to dinner at a quiet Italian restaurant. Not one of the trendy, expensive places Dominic usually frequented, but a family-owned spot in Brooklyn that reminded him of his childhood. Over pasta and red wine, Leo had told him the full story. Sophie was diagnosed when she was 10. Leo had begun, his hands wrapped around a glass of wine he wasn't drinking. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The doctors said she had a good chance, but it would be a long fight. Chemo, radiation, maybe a bone marrow transplant. Dominic had listened without interrupting. She handled it pretty well at first. She was brave. Too brave for a 10-year-old. But when her hair started falling out, something broke in her. She wouldn't leave her room. She wouldn't see friends. She wore hats to bed, hats in the shower. Mom tried to tell her it didn't matter, that she was still beautiful, but Sophie didn't believe her. What did you do? I shaved my head, Leo had said simply. I was 17. I thought I was being so clever, so supportive. I showed up at the hospital with a completely bald head and told her we could be twins. Did it help? For a while. She laughed. She said I looked like an egg. We took selfies together, both of us bald, making stupid faces. For a few weeks, it was better. But then she got sicker. The chemo wasn't working. They tried different drugs, more aggressive treatments. She was in pain all the time. And somewhere in all of that, the baldness stopped being something we could laugh about. It became just another reminder that she was sick, that she was dying. Leo's voice had broken. She died 2 weeks after her 12th birthday. And the last thing she said to me was, "I wish I could have grown my hair out one more time." Dominic had felt tears on his own cheeks. "I went to beauty school 3 months later," Leo had continued. "Everyone thought I was crazy. My mom needed help with bills. I had no money for college, and I chose a career that wouldn't pay well. But I didn't care. I had to do something that mattered. I had to make sure other kids didn't feel the way Sophie did." "So you started volunteering at hospitals." "I started during school. I'd go to St. Jude's on weekends and offer free cuts to kids in the oncology ward. Some of them wanted to shave their heads before the chemo did it for them. Some of them wanted fancy styles to feel normal. Some of them just wanted someone to talk to while I trimmed what was left." "How did you afford the products?" "I couldn't at first. I used whatever I could get. Cheap stuff from drugstores, samples from school. But then I got the job at Valeni's, and I had access to good products. Professional scissors. Quality clippers. I'd pocket the samples we gave clients and take them to the hospital. I'd use my employee discount to buy products and donate them." And Sasha found out. She caught me taking samples one day. I explained what I was doing, thinking she'd understand. Instead, she told me I was stealing from the company. She said if I wanted to play charity worker, I could do it on my own time with my own money. She forbid me from taking any more products. But you kept going. I used my own money. I bought cheap supplies. It wasn't as good as what I could do with professional products, but it was better than nothing. And the kids. Leo's smile was sad. The kids didn't care if I used expensive shampoo or drugstore stuff. They just cared that someone saw them as more than their disease. Dominic had reached across the table and squeezed Leo's hand. "Your sister would be proud of you." "I hope so. I think about her every time I cut a kid's hair. I wonder if I could have done more for her. If I could have made those last weeks better." "You did what you could. You were 17 and facing something no teenager should have to face." "I was useless," Leo had said bitterly. "I couldn't save her. I couldn't make her better. All I could do was shave my stupid head and pretend like that helped." "It did help. For a while. You gave her laughter when she needed it. You gave her company. You gave her someone who loved her enough to look ridiculous in solidarity. It wasn't enough. Love is never enough against cancer," Dominic had said gently. "But it's still worth giving." They'd sat in silence for a while, the restaurant's noise washing over them. "Can I ask you something?" Leo had said finally. "Anything. Why did you really go undercover? Was it just the reviews?" Dominic had thought about lying, about giving some corporate answer about market research and quality control. But Leo deserved the truth. "I went undercover because I was afraid I'd become a fraud," Dominic had admitted. "I spent 27 years building this company on the idea that everyone deserves to feel beautiful, that a good haircut can change someone's life, that we're in the business of dignity, not just grooming. But somewhere along the way, I got lost. I started caring more about profit margins than people, more about expansion than excellence. I became the kind of businessman I used to despise. And the reviews called you out on it. The reviews said my salons had no soul. And I realized they were right. I'd sucked the soul out of them in the name of efficiency and profit. So you went looking for it." "I went looking for proof that I was wrong. I wanted to find that one location that still embodied what I'd built. One manager who got it. One stylist who cared. And you found the opposite. I found a system that rewarded cruelty and punished compassion. I found managers like Sasha who measured success in dollars instead of dignity. And I realized that if my flagship location, my crown jewel, was this broken, the whole company must be rotten. So what are you going to do?" Dominic had smiled grimly. "Burn it down and rebuild it. Not literally, but close. I'm going to fire every manager who operates like Sasha. I'm going to rewrite every policy that prioritizes profit over people. I'm going to restructure the entire company around values instead of revenue. The board won't like that. The board can go to hell." Leo had laughed, surprised. "I thought CEOs had to keep the board happy. CEOs who don't control their companies do. I still own 51%. They can complain, they can vote, they can threaten to quit. But at the end of the day, I decide what this company is." "And what is it?" "It's a place where people like you can thrive, where compassion is rewarded, where every client, rich or poor, young or old, healthy or sick, is treated with dignity. where we measure success not by how much we sell, but by how many people we help feel beautiful. That's a beautiful vision. It's the vision I started with. It's time I got back to it. 3 months later, Dominic stood outside the Lexington Avenue Salon, now officially renamed Valeni Company, the Leo Benedetto flagship location, and smiled. The changes had been swift and, in some quarters, controversial. He'd fired 23 managers across the company for creating toxic environments. He'd restructured the entire bonus system, making it based 60% on client satisfaction and only 40% on revenue. He'd instituted community hours at every location, reduced price cuts for people in need, and official partnerships with hospitals and shelters for volunteer work. The board had been furious. 3 members had resigned. The stock price had dipped. Dominic didn't care. Because for the first time in a decade, he was excited to go to work. For the first time in years, he felt like he was building something that mattered. He pushed through the door of the salon. The interior had changed. The marble floors remained, but the cold chrome had been replaced with warm wood. The modern art had been swapped for photographs, pictures of stylists volunteering at hospitals, of clients smiling in the chairs, of the community the salon served. The champagne bar was gone, replaced by a coffee station where clients could serve themselves and sit in comfortable chairs while they waited. And behind the first chair, cutting the hair of a young woman who was laughing at something he'd said, was Leo. He'd grown into the role of manager like he was born for it. The salon's revenue was down slightly, about 8%, but client satisfaction scores had skyrocketed. They were now the highest-rated salon in the entire company. Stylists from other locations were requesting transfers. The wait list for appointments was 3 weeks long. Leo looked up and saw Dominic. His face split into a grin. "Mr. V, you made it." Dominic had tried repeatedly to get Leo to call him Dom, but Leo insisted on Mr. V as a compromise. "Wouldn't miss it," Dominic said. "Is she here?" "In the back. Getting ready. She's nervous." Dominic walked through the salon, greeting stylists by name, complimenting cuts, asking about their families. This was his routine now, visiting different locations, getting to know the people who made his company work. In the back room, he found Mia. She was 8 years old, wearing a bright pink dress and a huge smile. Her mother stood beside her, eyes red from crying. "Mr. Valeni." Mia rushed over and hugged him. "Leo said you were coming." Dominic knelt down to her level. "I wouldn't miss your special day. Are you ready?" "I'm ready." She touched her head self-consciously. Her hair had grown back after chemo, soft brown wisps that stuck up in every direction. "Leo says he's going to make me look like a princess." "Leo's very good at that." Mrs. Gable, Mia's mother, wiped her eyes. "Mr. Valeni, I can't thank you enough. When Leo told us about the community hours program, about the free cuts for families dealing with medical bills. It's the least we can do," Dominic said, standing. "Mia's been through something no child should face. If we can make her feel beautiful and give your family one less thing to worry about, that's an honor." "It's more than that," Mrs. Gable said. "It's hope. It's kindness. It's—" She couldn't finish. Dominic understood. Sometimes words weren't enough. Leo appeared in the doorway. "Ready for your princess cut, Mia?" Mia squealed and ran to him. Dominic watched from the doorway as Leo lifted Mia into the chair, draped the cape around her with a flourish, and began consulting with her about exactly what kind of princess she wanted to be. "Belle Princess or Elsa Princess?" Leo asked seriously. "Both," Mia declared. "Both it is." As Leo worked, Dominic found himself thinking about his father. Giuseppe had never met Leo, had never seen this salon, had died 10 years before Valeni Company became the empire it was now. But Dominic thought his father would have loved this moment, would have loved Leo, would have loved a company that finally remembered what it was supposed to be about. His phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Board meeting in 20 minutes. They're going to push back on the Q4 projections." Dominic texted back, "Let them push. I'm exactly where I need to be." He turned off his phone and pulled up a chair to watch Leo work. An hour later, Mia was twirling in front of the mirror, her hair styled into an intricate updo that somehow managed to be both Belle Elegant and Elsa Magical. Glitter sparkled in strategic places. She looked like royalty. "I'm beautiful," she announced. "You're always beautiful," her mother said, crying again. "But yes, honey, you look like a princess." Leo knelt down in front of Mia. "You know the secret about being a princess?" "What?" It's not about the hair or the dress. It's about being brave and kind. And you, Mia, are the bravest, kindest person I know. Mia threw her arms around Leo's neck. Thank you, Leo. You're my favorite. As Mrs. Gable tried to pay, Leo refusing, her insisting, finally Leo accepting a $20 bill just to end the argument. Dominic felt his phone buzz again. And again. And again. The board was not happy. Let them be unhappy. He'd spent too many years keeping them happy while losing sight of what mattered. As Mia and her mother left, Mia spinning in circles to make her dress fly up, Dominic approached Leo. Thank you, Dominic said simply. For what? For reminding me why I started this company. For showing me what it could be. For being exactly who you are. Leo smiled. Thank you for seeing it. For understanding. For changing everything. We changed it together. Mr. V, can I ask you something? Always. Do you regret it? Going undercover? Everything that came after. Dominic thought about it. He thought about the board fights, the negative press, the stock price dip. He thought about the managers he'd fired, the policies he'd changed, the comfortable corporate structure he'd dismantled. Then he thought about Mia spinning in the mirror, about Leo's smile, about a company that finally lived up to its values. Not for a second, he said. Leo grinned. Good. Because your next appointment is here. My appointment? Yeah. You said you wanted to get back to cutting hair. I booked you a client. His name is Sal. He's a retired sanitation worker. Says he heard good things about this place. Dominic laughed. Deep, genuine laughter that felt like coming home. Then I better not keep him waiting, he said, heading to the chair. As he draped the cape and picked up his scissors, the same scissors he'd used when he first started cutting hair 30 years ago, Dominic caught his reflection in the mirror. He looked older than he had in the penthouse 3 months ago. More tired, more uncertain, but he also looked happier, more alive, more like the person he'd always meant to be. The client, actually named Sal, coincidentally, settled into the chair. Just a trim, Sal said. Nothing fancy. You got it, Dominic replied, running his fingers through the man's hair, feeling its texture, understanding what it needed. And as his scissors made that first cut, as he fell into the rhythm and flow of the work he'd almost forgotten he loved, Dominic thought about his father's barber code. Everyone deserves your best work. Listen more than you talk. Never upsell what isn't needed. Honor the trust of vulnerability. Measure success in smiles, not dollars. So, Sal, Dominic said as he worked, tell me about yourself. What brought you in today? And Sal, feeling safe in the chair, seeing kindness in the mirror, began to talk. Dominic listened. And somewhere, he liked to think, Giuseppe was smiling.